I think it's important for people to always keep tabs whenever I tell you to keep tabs on this platform, because the war between Israel and Palestine, the Israel war in Gaza, has come to an end. Yes. But before we go to the agreement, before we go to the ceasefire, let's not forget that it all started 2 years ago. Yes. The war started 2 years ago, and it has destroyed a lot of properties. Yes, at the West Bank, talking of Gaza, and even in Israel. Yes, it has destroyed properties. There's so many lives have been lost. The peace has returned to both countries. The peace I've been calling on this platform every time I have to make video about Israel war in Gaza. The peace I've been longing for have returned to both countries. Who is very instrumental to this? We cannot take out Donald Trump out of the scene. Yes, Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, that I have always called out whenever I'm making video to tell Israel to stop the war in Gaza, was and is very instrumental to the ceasefire agreement and to the deal that both parties signed yesterday. Now, let's also cast our mind back to the UN summit. Before the UN summit, the Prime Minister of UK came out openly to say that they will recognize, that UK will recognize Palestine as a state in the UN summit. The Prime Minister of France, Canada, so many world leaders came out, I think around September, to say that they will recognize Palestine as a state in the UN summit. And that's what happened. Yes, during the summit, Palestine was recognized as a state in that summit. And it's not only about recognizing them. The percentage, yes, of the world leaders that were present was a pass mark. Yes. So the peace agreement that we witnessed yesterday gained momentum during the UN summit, because I think over more than 70 to 80 world leaders recognized Palestine as a state during the summit. I don't want to say the only country. I think one of the country that didn't make a vote, that didn't recognize Palestine as a state, was United States of America, and it raised some eyebrows during that summit. But we all know why they didn't recognize, or they didn't come out openly to give Palestine their recognition as a state, because let's not forget that President Donald Trump is a friend of the Prime Minister of Israel, talking of Benjamin Netanyahu. So you cannot have a friend in Benjamin Netanyahu and want to say something to contradict yourself when you people have been talking behind closed doors. So we all know why they didn't do that, but I think the world didn't hold that against them. They have the right to do that, and they also have the right not to do that as well. But that recognition, I think, is one of the reasons why we're having, or if not the reason, is one of the reasons why we're having this peace summit that was signed yesterday between Palestine and Israel. And I've always cried on this platform whenever I'm coming out to make video about Israel or in Gaza, about the genocide. So many lives have been lost, but I'm thankful that peace have returned to both countries. Even the hostages that were held captive by both countries that have been released, the agreement have been signed. More than 20 world leaders were present. Even the president of Turkey. So many world leaders were present. A lot of world leaders who were present during the signing of the peace agreement in Egypt. So it's a good one that Donald Trump has finally been very instrumental to seeing peace return to Israel and Gaza, and it's very instrumental to make sure that the hostages have been released by both countries, by both parties. So it's a good one, and it's a good development. Looking at what has happened, looking at what has happened in the past 2 years during this war, the level of destruction in both countries is nothing to write home about. But peace have finally returned to both Israel and Palestine, and it's a good development around the globe, and it calls for celebration. Let's hope and let's keep our fingers crossed that Palestinians would rebuild their city and have back their government and live the life that they had always lived. As me, your host on this platform, Dawson James. Peace and love.